My God, I hate drugs.
Today marks the first year since Marawi came under siege. A solemn tribute will be held to honor those who died defending the city from ISIS-inspired fighters, a battle that dragged on for 5 months. As our senior correspondent David Santos tells us, one of the main personalities that survived the ordeal is opting to skip the commemoration.
The scorching noontime summer heat can be too much to bear, but it takes getting used to for thousands of Marawi residents still living in cramped makeshift camps. They can only wish things could somehow been better. A year into the siege, the scenes of horror are still fresh in people's minds.
Yung nagbabaril lang sila. Tapos yung dumadaan ka na, di mo makalan, hihilayin ka.
Oo, masakit talaga yung nangyari sa amin. Oh, lalo na kami magkakapatid, lahat nawalan. Walang nasalba. Kahit damit namin, wala.
Public activities offering basic social services from medical care to skills training are being held all week long.
We do not want to celebrate. Hindi tayo masaya na nangyari ang itong kaguluhan dito sa Marawi City.
On Wednesday, May 23rd, the first day of the attack, survivors, rescuers, and officials will gather for a solemn ceremony to honor the dead. More than 160 soldiers and policemen were killed throughout the 5-month campaign to recapture Marawi. Presidential Peace Advisor Jess Dureza will lead the tribute. It will also be held away from the battle zone, which remains off-limits to the public.
We are still conducting clearing operation. So we still have yung unexploded bombs.
While many residents would rather forget the tragic memories of the May 23 siege, Father Chito Suganub thinks otherwise.
Well, for me, I would like it to remember as a gift of God to me.
Suganub previously said he had to endure pain and trauma throughout his 4-month captivity, calling it an ultimate test of his faith. But Suganub is skipping the ceremony in Marawi. He will instead say Mass in his hometown in South Cotabato and, quote, spend time alone with God.
First of all, I will sink into myself and still discern what the Lord would like me to do. And then I will thank the Lord on that very day, May 23.
A wreath-laying ceremony will also be held inside a military camp on May 24th. In Marawi City, David Santos, CNN Philippines.
What is the state of Marawi and Islamic militancy in the Philippines a year since the siege? CNN Philippines gets key voices on the record. Joint Task Force Ranao Deputy Commander Colonel Romeo Bronner, Marawi City Mayor Majul Gandamra, Major General Danilo Pamonag, Commander of Joint Task Force Trident and Joint Task Force Marawi, and counterinsurgency expert Joseph Franco. Catch them on the record tonight at 6:30 p.m. here on CNN Philippines. Let's move on to another story. President Duterte has yet to sign the order lifting the total ban on sending Filipino workers to Kuwait. Last week, Malacanang announced the restriction was recalled. Labor Secretary Silvestre Rebello confirmed this move. But in his speech Tuesday at the Philippine Navy's 120th anniversary celebration, the president said he has yet to agree to lift the ban. Although he is pleased that Kuwait has agreed to his conditions for the treatment of Filipino workers there. The president said he is still waiting for Kuwait to guarantee that his demands will be met. Here's the president in his own words.
We're okay now with Kuwait. We're okay now with Kuwait. My conditions were met. But they must be guaranteed before I sign the lifting of the ban.
A report from an honorary consul in Dublin, Ireland confirms the body found by authorities there was indeed a Filipina student, Justine Valdez. Philippine ambassador to London, Antonio Lagdameo, said that on a video message. Watch.
We received a report from our honorary consul in Dublin confirming that the body that the authorities found yesterday is indeed the mortal remains of Justine Valdez. Therefore, on behalf of the government, I extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to the family and pray for her eternal repose. And we offer the hand of assistance and support in these very challenging and trying times.
From the top stories here in the country to headlines across the globe. Hotter than average temperatures have killed at least 65 people in just 3 days in Karachi, Pakistan. The Pakistan Meteorological Department says temperatures reached a high of 44 degrees Celsius on Monday, way above the average daily high for May of 35 degrees Celsius. The situation was exacerbated by power outages citywide and ongoing fasting for the holy month of Ramadan, during which many Muslims abstain from eating and drinking during daylight hours. An earlier heat wave in Pakistan reached 45 degrees Celsius back in 2015, killing at least 1,300 people. An Australian archbishop has been found guilty of concealing child sex abuse by a priest. The Archbishop Philip Wilson is facing up to 2 years in prison. Wilson was found guilty of covering up sexual abuse by the late James Fletcher. Fletcher was found guilty of child sexual abuse in 2004 and died in prison in 2006. Wilson has maintained his innocence through the judicial process. His lawyers argue that he knew nothing about Fletcher's abuse. In a statement, Wilson says he'll consult with his lawyers to decide his next steps. The Vatican had no comment on the case.
The House Appropriations Committee approves the 1.16 billion peso supplemental budget for Dengvaxia vaccines. The Health Department says it will use the money to help all Dengvaxia vaccinees who would need medical assistance regardless of their sickness. Our correspondent Joyce Ilas tells us more.
Paano po kung operahan yung anak ko? 100,000 ang gagastusin ko. Saan ko po yun kukunin?
Girlie Samonte says her son needs to undergo an angiogram after a vessel in his brain ruptured. The angiogram costs 55,000 pesos. Samonte says her son started to experience health problems 6 months after he was vaccinated with Dengvaxia.
Kung humihingi sa inyo ng tulong na saan ibigay po yung nararapat doon sa mga batang vaccines, hindi po kami humihingi ng sobra.
Speaking during the House Appropriations Committee hearing, the Department of Health assures Samonte that they will shoulder all the medical expenses of her son. Aside from Samonte, the DOH also assures parents of Dengvaxia vaccinees that the DOH will shoulder all medical expenses of children vaccinated with Dengvaxia. Once the 1.16 billion peso supplemental budget for Dengvaxia vaccinees has been passed into law. The supplemental budget seeks to tap the 1.16 billion pesos the Dengvaxia manufacturer Sanofi Pasteur earlier refunded to the Philippine government.
Kahit po ano ang sakit, basta po ang bata ay na-iniksyonan ng Dengvaxia, wala pong tanong-tanong if it's connected, possibly connected or not connected to the illness. But all children, all 900,000 children po na nabakunahan, basta nagkasakit po sila at may card, whether outpatient or inpatient po, sasagutin natin yung kanilang pangangailangan.
On Tuesday, the House Appropriations Committee approved the supplemental budget. Under the bill, more than 945 million pesos will be allotted for the medical assistance program for admitted patients or outpatients. 45 million pesos will be used to pay for supplies and medicines of Dengvaxia vaccinees, and 78 million pesos will be used to pay for the salary of 1,250 nurses and health professionals that will profile, assess, and monitor Dengvaxia patients.
Isa-isa po nilang pupuntahan yung mga bata sa listahan, kukunan po ng information, ng full information, medical history, a survey po on the health status of the child, and then they will be oriented po and navigated kung saan po nila access ang health system kung sakali po may maramdaman yung bata.
Should parents need assistance from the DOH, they may contact the DOH hotline at 711-1001 and 711-1002. Meanwhile, the DOH reports that as of this month, a total of 87 Dengvaxia vaccinees have already died. Of this, 11 died due to dengue, despite being vaccinated. The DOH says a failure of the vaccine is expected because the vaccine has been tested to be only 65 to 80% effective.
May mga ibang cases tayo na namatay sila na bakunahan, pero nung tinest sila for dengue antigen and for dengue antibodies, wala silang na-mount na any form of defense against dengue. So mukhang hindi talaga siya effective sa lahat.
The DOH, however, maintains that so far there is still no direct proof that Dengvaxia caused the death of these children. Joyce Ila, CNN Philippines.
Happening today, the Senate will resume a joint inquiry into the untoward deaths and abuses of overseas Filipino workers. Committees included in the probe are Labor, Employment and Human Resources Development, Foreign Relations, and Economic Affairs. The Senate committees will focus on Kuwait, which was recently hit by a deployment ban. Several events will be held around the country to commemorate the first anniversary of the Marawi siege. In Lanao del Sur, the local government will honor those who fought for the liberation of the city. A wreath-laying ceremony, meanwhile, will be held at the Libingan ng mga Bayani. On the streets of Manila, militant groups will remember the Marawi siege in a protest march from the University of Santo Tomas to Mendiola. We also look back on the Marawi siege and rebuilding efforts with local officials and other key voices on the source. Catch their full interview with our senior anchor and correspondent Pinky Webb.